Hey guys, today I'm super excited to be talking to you about a really cool system for creating liquid, fast triplet legato lines that are super continuous and awesome sounding. So this system's going to just take us through a couple cool sequences or concepts, whatever you want to call them, kind of get you acclimated to kind of like some core vocabulary that you can then mix and match together to create your own kind of improvised continuous legato thing that's not just a sequence, but maybe an amalgam of sequences. So let's get into it. The first concept or sequence behind this whole system of thinking and of playing things looks a little bit something like this. All right, so let's move on to the next sequence or the next little piece of logic here that's going to build out this legato system. So the next thing we're going to do is very, very similar, but it's going to spend more time in one place on the guitar as opposed to just zipping through all 6 strings. This one's geared more towards getting mileage. All right, so already that one's sounding pretty neat as well, and you could just use this as standalone, really cool vocabulary. So don't be afraid to get used to these 2 patterns before even thinking about mixing and matching things. The next thing that we can get into is a combination of these 2 patterns. So from here, once I'd kind of developed a feeling for these 2 pieces of vocabulary, I wanted to be able to use this across more of the neck. I wanted to be able to slip between positions. I think it's really important to be able to slip to the next place, the next place, the next place. Right? We want this thing to be liquid. We want it to move and flow like water. So the next path that we want to flow down is the position shift, and the way we're going to do it is we're going to apply it to the first sequence we learned first. So the idea is, instead of going to that last note of that sequence, we're going to replace it with a slide over to a new position. So that gets turned into that. And you could get really slick at these. It does take a lot of thinking to shift. So I don't know if this is something you would take the whole way down, but you might get used to it a little bit and just see, where it takes you. Kind of tricky, but it sounds really, really nice. So the next thing we want to do with that is I have a version of it that has less shifts because I think it can be a little cumbersome if I'm just trying to go fast and do something that sounds like a really cool and fusion-y flurry. So here's a variation that's a little less active. So we're just about there in terms of the raw ingredients of this whole overall system. There's just one more key thing that we want to learn to piece it all together. So what we're going to go for is one final style of position shifting while doing this vocabulary. This one's going to be the most difficult thing out of all the stuff we've tried so far, because it doesn't perfectly maintain groupings of 3 or 6 or 9 or whatever. You know, it's not perfectly fitted to the triplet, so you're going to feel the cycle move around, you're going to feel the accent move around. It doesn't feel like it's built for triplets, which I think makes it sound really cool because it has a more flurry of notes, unpredictable kind of sound to it. So the way this works is a little something like this. Okie doke, so we've got all the ingredients. Now it's time to cook the pizza. So the idea with this is this gives you a bunch of stuff that you could kind of mix and match on the fly, ideally. So that way you come up with something different every time you play it. It doesn't sound like you're just running an exercise or something real technical, or just running a scale or a sequence, but, you know, it sounds like it's adapting and evolving on the fly. You know, it's a dynamic piece of vocabulary. What you saw at the beginning of the video is me improvising a couple of phrases based on these concepts. So what I'll do is I'm going to throw up the tabs for the first couple patterns I played at the beginning of the video. Hopefully it gives you an idea of how I might mix and match the different ingredients and pull in the position shifts wherever I think it sounds cool. Hopefully you guys can have a lot of fun with that. So I encourage you to make this your own. Don't just steal this and say, okay, anytime that I'm in G sharp Lydian, I can play these 3 riffs. That's not what it's about. So hopefully this gave you enough info to understand the concepts, the sequences, and the ideas behind coming up with this cool vocabulary. So have fun with it. It's fun rocking with you guys. Hit subscribe and we'll catch you in the next one.